But a question for you. Very early on, you started to get interested in policy and what was happening, not so much politics but policy, but you were willing to get outside of your comfort zone. And I'm thinking particularly of your pressing to meet with President Nixon.
Yeah.
That was a fun story. I like that.
Well, I was a college student, first quarter freshman, and there were some things that upset me at Ohio State and some things I wanted to find out. So I asked for a meeting with the president of the university, and it was a struggle, but I got in. I went to see him, and I told him what I was concerned about. And then I looked at him and I said, "Sir, I've been in school a couple weeks, and I don't know what I want to be, but when I look at this office you have and your desk and chairs and all, maybe this is the job for me. What do you do?" And he said, "Well, I have academic responsibilities and fundraising responsibilities, but tomorrow I'm going to go down and see President Nixon." And I said, "Well, do you think I could go with you?" And he said, "No." And I said, "If I write a letter, would you give it to the president?" And he said, "I guess I could do that." So I wrote a letter, went back to my dorm, wrote a letter telling him how I thought. Most of it was positive. Gave it to the president of the university. He carried the letter to Washington. And at the end of my letter, I wrote, "P.S. If you want to discuss this further, let me know." So a couple weeks later, I get a letter back from the White House, and it's from the president. And he invited me to the Oval Office to have a chat with him. And I called home, and my mother answered the phone. I said, "Mom, I'm going to need an airline ticket. The President of the United States would like to have a meeting with me in the Oval Office." And my mother is shouting, "Honey, pick up the phone. There's something wrong with our kid." And I did fly down, and I did get to meet President Nixon. They gave me 5 minutes. I spent 20 there, and that was just an unbelievable thing to happen in my life and give me an opportunity. See, I don't think most things happen by accident. I think things tend to happen on purpose, and when good things happen, I'm a work in progress, Governor, but when good things happen, you got to just be appreciative of it and don't, and a lot of good things have happened to me in my lifetime, and I really appreciate the fact that I've had a podium, an opportunity to speak, and this is my 4th book. And I mean, it's really cool. I mean, people say, "What are you proud of?" I mean, my daughters, my marriage, and all that. But I mean, this is like I've written 4 books. Right. I can't believe it,
That's a lot of work, too. Believe me, I know.
Yes. So hopefully this one's going to do well. And why do I feel strongly? Because I think people can pick something up from this book. Mm-hmm. They can learn from it. And I think it's a good one. I'm really happy about it.
Good. Well, I think it's a good one, too. You want to get into a little more. I mean, faith is obviously very important to you and your religion. How awkward or how comfortable were you in talking with it and about it on the campaign trail? And what about people's reaction? Was it something
Here's the thing. In 1987, when I was a little boy, I was always worried that when my father went to pick my mother up in her job in downtown Pittsburgh, that they would not come back because they would go on a very dangerous road. And then I got to be 35 years old, I guess it was. I was 35. And I got a call at 11:45 at night, and the doctor said, "I have terrible news for you. There's been a terrible accident. Your father's dead, and your mother's going to die." And I got to Pittsburgh that night. The girl I was going with drove me there. And I went into the hospital, and my mother never regained consciousness. And there was a young minister in there, and he started telling me about faith. And I said, "Look, man," he goes, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry what's happening." I said, "You don't have a clue." I started yelling at this guy. And over the next couple weeks, he started asking me about my position vis-a-vis the big guy. And he said to me one day, he said, "John, you don't understand. You are going to heal, but you have a window of opportunity. Why don't you go and figure out what you really think?" And as a young man, I'd gone through the religious motions and maybe even felt inspired at times, and it was very legitimate. But I drifted away. So I read everything I could. I disrupted more religious studies groups than you can even imagine. And 30 years later and on the way, I've concluded that there is a God, that he cares about me, and that he's transcendent. And here's the thing where I think religion's gone wrong. First of all, you got religious leaders that play politics. You shouldn't be endorsing candidates. This is nonsense. Secondly, a lot of them preach, who's sleeping with who and all this other stuff. I don't care about that. What I care about, love God, which brings about humility, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And to me, religion is about hope, a second chance. It's about grace. It's a chance to brush yourself off and start anew. And so I talk about it, and I think, you know, if I know there's somebody that really cares about me who's transcendent, and I know a little bit of what's expected about me, I have a better chance of hitting the mark than if I'm just wandering around in the woods without a compass. And so I'm not shove this down anybody's throat, but it's my gift to people. Just check it out. If you don't like it, fine. I mean, it's not nothing to sweat off me. I just want you to know what I found, and it's not always right for me. It doesn't take away all the pain or make life easy, but it does give you perspective. I am convinced that in a mature society, what happens, there's a tendency for man to put himself on the throne and to take God off the throne, and in that process, we become self-absorbed, and we lose our objectivity, and then all of a sudden, it is a subjective judgment about proper behavior, and I don't buy that. And if you're a humanist, you want to heal the world, and that is consistent with those people who practice faith. So if people don't, I mean, look, I don't have any problem with people. I wrote a book about this. It was a bestseller. It's fine, but I'm not into all this, you know, you're going to hell and all that. That's not where I live.